They say betrayal doesn't knock, it picks the lock and sits on your couch like it owns the place. Tuesday started like most others. Cold coffee, half-toasted bread, and a sleepy 8-year-old who couldn't find his left shoe. I was Logan Hayes, husband, father, decent cook when there's no fire alarm involved. My wife, Vanessa, was working a conference in Santa Barbara. She kissed our son Jack on the forehead that morning, told me not to burn the lasagna, and wheeled her designer suitcase to the Uber like a woman with a calendar full of success. 3 days, she said with that tired smile. Just panels and presentations. Probably boring. Yeah, boring. Right. Now, let me be clear, I didn't suspect anything. I wasn't snooping through her texts or checking her location. I was too busy doing what a lot of guys do when their wives are off doing career things. I picked up Jack from school, made him laugh with my questionable dad jokes, and reheated some suspiciously gray leftovers. He called it mystery meatloaf. I told him that was generous. Vanessa texted me that night around 9:30 p.m. Long day. Feet hurt. Love you. I replied something like, get some rest. Jack misses you. Which was true. So did I, in the kind of quiet, grown-up way you don't say out loud. Later, after Jack had passed out watching cartoons, I was scrolling through my feed, half tired, half zoned out. That's when I saw it. A photo. I didn't even recognize the account at first. It was one of those tagged by a friend of a friend situations. Some sun-drenched poolside resort. Lots of smiles. Lots of drinks. And there, like a neon sign at a funeral, was Vanessa. In a red swimsuit I'd never seen before. Laughing. Hair down. Hugging a man like she belonged on his arm. I zoomed in. Just to be sure. My heart didn't skip. It clenched. He had his arm around her waist. Not friendly. Familiar. I stared at that image for a solid minute, like maybe it would change if I glared hard enough. Like maybe it wasn't her. But denial only works until the Wi-Fi does. I didn't yell. Didn't throw my phone across the room. Didn't even curse. Instead, I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and made myself a cup of tea. Chamomile. The betrayal kind. The next morning, I made Jack pancakes. Packed his lunch. Dropped him off at school with a smile. Told him to do his best, be kind, all that good dad stuff. Then I went home. And I started planning that I didn't confront her. Not right away. That's what most people expect, right? Storming texts, dramatic phone calls, screaming into the void. But me? I brewed a second cup of tea and opened our joint bank account. It was still there, her name beside mine. Our money. Our future. The one she apparently decided to share with someone who wore linen shirts and held champagne flutes like they were made for his hand. There was a time I would have tried to fix things. Sat down, asked questions like, why him? Or was it me? But those questions are for people who still want answers. I didn't want answers. I wanted out. Vanessa had flown to Santa Barbara on a Wednesday morning. Her return flight? Friday night. That gave me 2.5 days. Not a lot of time to vanish, but just enough to orchestrate a clean exit. I started with the car, hers. The white SUV with vanity plates that read V, Nessa 1, because subtlety was never her thing. I drove it to the dealership where we bought it and told them I was moving to Europe. They gave me less than it was worth. I took the offer. Next stop, the bank. I closed the joint account with a steady hand. Transferred half to an account she couldn't touch, and the rest into a new one under my name only. She'd notice, sure. But by then, I'd be long gone. Let her and her poolside boyfriend split a hotel minibar in peace. Jack's school was the trickiest part. I met with the principal under the guise of family emergency and filed the withdrawal forms. A few phone calls later, I had him enrolled in a private charter school 2 cities over. One with a wait list I managed to bypass thanks to a perfectly timed donation. I booked us a furnished 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood where nobody knew my name, let alone hers. No backyard pool. No wine rack. Just clean floors and an unlisted address. I worked quietly, methodically, like a man carving his name out of stone. By Friday morning, the house was hollow. I packed everything Jack would need. Clothes, toys, school projects, even that hideous clay dinosaur he made in 1st grade. I left behind only the furniture and a wedding photo face down on the kitchen counter. She called around noon. I let it ring. I didn't answer her 3 p.m. voicemail either. Just her voice chirping. Hey babe, flight got delayed. I'll be back later than planned. Don't wait up. I didn't wait. By the time Vanessa landed, the SUV was gone, the accounts were locked, and her son and husband were nothing more than a memory echoing in a house she no longer belonged to. I didn't leave a note. I left silence. And silence, as it turns out, is the loudest thing a man can say. She called me 17 times that night. 17. I didn't answer a single one. Her voicemail started sweet, confused, maybe a little concerned. Hey, Logan. Weird thing. The garage is empty. Did you take my car somewhere? Then they turned impatient. Okay, not funny. Where's Jack? Why isn't he at home? Did something happen? By voicemail number 9, the panic crept in. Logan, if this is some kind of twisted punishment, you better. Click. Number 10 went straight to rage. You're being immature. You do not take my child and vanish like some maniac. Do you have any idea what this looks like? Yeah, Vanessa. It looks like what it is, a reckoning. I didn't check her text until the next morning. Most were rapid-fire keyboard punches. Where are you? Call me back. You're being ridiculous. I'll call the police. And then she sent it. The photo. The same one I'd seen online. The poolside hug. Red swimsuit. Smiling like betrayal was an Olympic sport and she just stuck the landing. But this version was cropped. Just her. Just enough leg. Just enough shoulder. Captioned with, "This is what you're mad about? I was networking, Logan. You're being paranoid." That line right there? That was the gasoline. See, it wasn't just what she did. It was that she thought I was dumb enough to believe it. Paranoid? Let's talk about that. I'd already seen the uncropped version. Her arms around some Armani-wrapped statue of a man whose smile said, "I've already won." His name was Benji, or at least that's what I pieced together from the tagged Instagram post of a coworker I didn't even know she still talked to. Turns out Benji wasn't just part of the conference. He was the conference keynote speaker, head of international sales, and apparently head of my wife's extracurricular activities. I saved the photo, not because I needed more proof, oh no, because I knew she'd try to spin it, to twist it into something innocent. But you don't wear swimsuits to keynote addresses. And you don't send cropped lies to a man who's already seen the full truth. She called again. I finally answered. Where's Jack? She snapped before I even said hello. He's safe, I said, calm as a glacier. What does that mean? Where are you? You can't just disappear with my son. There it was. My son. Not not your. Not even Jack. Possession. And that's when I knew she didn't miss us. She missed control. I'm not hiding, I said. I'm removing. She sputtered. Removing what? Myself. From the mess you made. From the version of reality where I play dumb while you play house with pool boy executives and call it professional growth. Her voice cracked like she was about to cry, but I wasn't buying it. You're being cruel, she said. No, I replied. I'm being efficient. Then I hung up. Let her feel what silence tastes like on the other side. The thing about betrayal is that it assumes you'll stay. Vanessa thought I'd stomp my feet, maybe throw a tantrum, cry into a cold pillow. That I'd sleep on the couch for a few nights, stew in my man pride, and then crawl back with a half-hearted, let's work through this. She never expected silence. And she sure didn't expect absence. By Saturday afternoon, I knew she was back at the house. The home we'd once built together, brick by brick, argument by argument, memory by memory. I had left it perfectly clean, spotless, clinical, like a model home waiting for strangers. Jack's room had been emptied. His drawings removed from the fridge. His dinosaur nightlight unplugged. His favorite stuffed tiger? Buckled into the backseat of our new sedan, already halfway to liking his new school. Vanessa sent one last message around noon. You've made your point. Come home. Let's talk like adults. I didn't reply. That was when she switched to calling my sister. Clever move, she thought Audrey would sympathize. Big sister. Mediator. But Audrey's loyalty had never been for sale. And certainly not to someone who'd reduced her brother to a ghost. She texted me later. She called. Said she's worried. I told her you're fine, but done. She hung up. I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I doubted it, but because of how final it felt. Done. It's strange how a single word can carry the weight of a decade. Later that evening, Vanessa tried the police. She called them in tears, told them I had taken our son without warning. Tried to paint it like an abduction. But here's the part she forgot. We were still legally married. No custody papers had been filed. No divorce proceedings had begun. And no crime had been committed. Officer Daniels, nice guy, used to be my neighbor, called me directly. Logan, he said in that slow, careful tone cops use when they're trying to talk you off a roof. Vanessa filed a report. Says she doesn't know where her son is. She knows exactly where he is, I replied. She just doesn't like that I didn't ask her permission. There was a pause. I could hear him chewing on the end of a toothpick. You and I both know this is a domestic issue, he finally said. But you're gonna want to get ahead of it legally. File something. Make it official before she does. I will, I said. Appreciate the heads up. And I meant it. Because I wasn't just going to vanish. I was going to make this lawful. By Monday, I'd already retained a lawyer, sharp, quiet guy named Barrett who wore Navy suits like body armor. He didn't ask for drama. He asked for receipts. And I gave him everything. The photo, the messages, the travel confirmations. Even screenshots of Jack's school transfers. He nodded once, slow and surgical. You're building a case of calculated relocation, he said. And honestly, she doesn't have a leg to stand on. Good, I said. Because Vanessa was starting to realize she wasn't losing a husband. She was losing her grip. That night she emailed me. Not texted. Emailed. Like we were two HR reps scheduling a termination. Logan, I think this has gotten out of hand. We need to discuss Jack's return, your mental state, and how to co-parent responsibly. I'm willing to forgive your reaction if you stop this now. Forgive. Forgive me. For catching her wrapped around a man named Benji while I reheated frozen nuggets and helped our son with spelling homework? I didn't even reply. I printed it, handed it to Barrett, and let the ink dry in silence. Meanwhile, Jack was adjusting like a champ. Kids are flexible like that. You give them safety and a steady bedtime, and they bloom. He loved the new school. He liked that the apartment had a pool. He didn't even ask about his mother until 3 days in. Is mommy mad at you? He asked over pancakes. I didn't lie. She's upset, I said. Sometimes when people make a mistake, they get angry that someone noticed. He chewed on that for a while. Literally and mentally. Will I see her again? Yes, I said, because I wouldn't rob him of the chance to make that choice himself someday. But not right now. He nodded, syrup on his chin. I steady. Then he went back to doodling rockets in his notebook. That night, I watched the stars from our small balcony. Thought about how far we'd fallen. How fast love can turn into obligation, and how obligation can rot into contempt. Vanessa didn't cheat because she was bored. She cheated because she thought she could get away with it. She forgot I was a quiet man, not a stupid one. And she was about to find out what a quiet man with nothing left to lose can really do. Revenge isn't rage. It's not red in the face, fist clenched, screaming at a slammed door. That's just noise. A tantrum with bad acoustics. No, real revenge is slow. Measured. You don't swing the bat. You set the trap, polish the bait, and wait for your target to walk in wearing confidence like a blindfold. Vanessa was still calling every day. Sometimes to threaten. Sometimes to beg. It was fascinating, honestly, watching her cycle through every tactic in the manipulator's handbook like she was speed running a breakup seminar. By now, her friends had started calling too. Well, our friends. The ones who defaulted to Switzerland when things got ugly. I got a text from one of them, Bree, asking if we could talk about the situation. I didn't reply. Instead, I started laying bricks. First thing I did was hire a private investigator. Not because I needed more dirt, I had enough to make a priest blush, but because I wanted documentation. Dates, hotel stays, paper trails. Make it neat, I told him. She's got a head start on the lies, so I want my version to be laminated. PI's name was Carter. Wore polos like body armor and had the dead-eyed calm of a man who'd seen too many husbands cry in parking lots. Don't worry, he said, flipping open a battered notebook. I've buried prettier marriages with less. I liked him immediately. While Carter did the groundwork, I did something I knew would rattle her bones. I went public. I updated my social media with a quiet little status. Moved. Just me and my boy. New chapter. No details. No fire. Just movement. Clean and cold. Vanessa saw it within hours. Because of course she did. That night she messaged me. You're really trying to spin this? Playing the abandoned dad card online like I'm some villain. I stared at the message. Not because it hurt. Those days were over. But because I finally realized she wasn't apologizing. She wasn't even trying to fake it anymore. She was just mad I didn't crumble. So I leaned in. I responded with 3 words. You made this. She didn't reply. 3 days later, Carter dropped off a thick folder. Inside, hotel receipts, call logs, dinner charges at restaurants she swore were just work events. Photos too. Her and Benji, poolside, in lobbies, once even outside a room with her keycard in his hand and that signature little smirk on her face. The kind she used to give me when we were 25 and pretending love was bulletproof. One picture showed her in that same red swimsuit, straddling a jet ski behind him. Nothing romantic. But the body language? That told a whole different story. I handed the folder to Barrett, my lawyer, who flipped through it like he was reading instructions on how to dismantle a marriage without lifting a finger. "This is gold," he said, tapping one of the timestamps. "We'll lead with this. You think it'll hold in court?" He looked up. "Logan, if I were your wife, I'd settle. Fast." But Vanessa wasn't one to settle. Not yet. She still thought she could play chess with a man who had already flipped the board. And that's when the real move came in. I called her employer. Well, technically, I sent a copy of the PI's report to their HR department. Discreetly. No message, no accusations. Just a manila envelope with a sticky note. "Your keynote speaker may be violating your workplace policy." Benji's company was one of those modern, polished, PR policing organizations that love diversity hashtags and mandatory boundary training. Turns out, they don't love affairs between executives and married subordinates. Especially not when those subordinates fake conference hours on company expense. Within a week, Benji's photos were removed from the website. His profile vanished from LinkedIn. Vanessa's too. They didn't even call to yell at me. Just vanished, like stains scrubbed off a whiteboard. She called me that night. I let it ring. 5 times. Then I answered. "You think you've won?" she snapped. "No," I said, voice steady. "I think I've responded." Her silence stretched. "You ruined both our careers." "No," I said again. "You did that. I just gave the truth a flashlight." She started crying. Not sobbing. Just that angry, wounded sniffle women use when they're not sad, they're exposed. "You didn't have to go nuclear," she whispered. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling like it had answers. "You lit the fuse," I said. I just stepped back and watched it burn. She hung up. I smiled. This wasn't vengeance for vengeance's sake. This was a reckoning. The difference? Vengeance wants to hurt. A reckoning wants you to remember. 2 weeks passed. No calls. No texts. No police knocking on my door. Vanessa went quiet, which wasn't like her. She's not the go quiet type. She's the scream into a pillow and call it therapy type. That's when I knew something was coming. And I was right. Barrett called me first. "You've been served," he said calmly. "She's filed for emergency custody." Of course she did. In her statement, she claimed I was unstable, emotionally erratic, and had kidnapped our son in the middle of a breakdown. She even wrote that I had violent tendencies due to unresolved trauma, which was a bold move from a woman who once told her affair partner, "Logan is too soft to even raise his voice." Luckily, the court system prefers facts over fanfiction. We walked into that courtroom prepared. Carter's report. Timeline records. Screenshots. The whole digital dossier of her double life laid out like a corporate presentation. She sat across from me in a stiff blazer, makeup perfect, trying to look like the concerned mother role she had never auditioned for before. The judge, an older woman with half-moon glasses and no time for nonsense, asked her first, "Why did you wait several weeks before filing if your son was in danger?" Vanessa blinked. "Well, I didn't want to escalate it. I was hoping we could work it out privately. You accused him of being unstable. So, did you believe your son was unsafe or not?" Silence. That courtroom silence? That's the sound of a plan crumbling. Barrett rose with the grace of a man who knew the game was already won. He walked the judge through everything calm, steady, professional. No theatrics. Just facts with timestamps. In the end, the judge ruled joint custody for now, with Jack to remain in my care until further review. Vanessa looked like someone had unplugged her battery. And me? I didn't smile. Didn't smirk. I just looked at her, stone-faced. Because I wasn't done yet. After the custody hearing, Vanessa did what all cornered people do. She spiraled. Subtly, at first. A few cryptic Instagram quotes about betrayal, forgiveness, and finding yourself. But people weren't buying it. Because truth has a way of echoing. Quiet at first, then louder with every lie. Her job was gone. Her boyfriend was gone. Her son was gone half the time. The walls of her new apartment were beige and cold and smaller than the life she used to know. And suddenly, no one was texting her back. Even her friends, those passive bystanders with wine glasses and "you deserve better" comments, started fading. Some of them messaged me. One said, "I didn't know how bad it got. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that." I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. Because I wasn't interested in applause for surviving a house fire someone else started. Jack was thriving. smiling again, sleeping through the night. He even started drawing again. Pictures of rocket ships, superheroes, and sometimes a little house with 2 windows and a dad inside. Not once did he draw her. About a month later, Vanessa reached out again. Not to yell, not to beg, but to offer peace. She wanted to meet in person. Said she'd been reflecting, that she realized how much pain she caused. I agreed. Not because I believed her, because I wanted to see what she looked like when she knew she'd lost. We met at a public park. She was dressed down, hair tied back, no makeup. She looked like a woman still pretending to be calm. I've been going to therapy, she said, trying to unpack everything. I wanted to apologize. I nodded. Not because I accepted it, because I didn't need it anymore. I thought I wanted something exciting, she continued. Something new. But all I found was noise. And now, she trailed off, waiting for me to rescue the sentence. I didn't. After a few seconds, she looked up at me. Do you think we could ever be friends again? I looked her dead in the eye and said, you don't get to hurt someone and keep their comfort. Then I stood up, walked away, didn't look back. Barrett filed the final motion 2 days later, full custody. This time, it wasn't even a fight. Vanessa didn't contest it. Whether from guilt, shame, or exhaustion, I'll never know. But she signed the papers. The court gave me primary custody with her granted supervised visits until she could demonstrate long-term stability. When she left that final hearing, she didn't even look at me. Jack asked later, will Mom ever live with us again? I paused, then knelt beside him. Some people, I said, make a choice they can't undo. But that doesn't mean we stop living. It just means we start better. He nodded, slowly, then handed me his drawing, me and him standing next to a treehouse with stars above it. You forgot the tiger, I said. He grinned and scribbled it in. You want to know what real revenge looks like? It's not screaming at someone in a courtroom. It's not torching their reputation online. It's not even watching them lose everything. It's living better. It's walking past the wreckage they made with clean hands and a full heart. It's watching your son fall asleep without fear. It's smiling again, not because you've forgotten, but because you remember and it no longer controls you. And for Vanessa? Well, last I heard, Benji blocked her. Her new job is a step down from her old one. And the friends who used to drink wine and call her brave? They've moved on to the next drama. She still sees Jack once a month. And I never speak to her unless it's necessary. Because you don't build a new life with bricks from a broken one. You build it with truth, steel, and silence. And me? I'm still here. Still standing. And for once, finally free. The end.